Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Hope it's not too noisy. They are cutting some trees down or trimming some trees and putting them through a wood chipper just outside of my house here. So it might be a little loud. I wanted to tell you a little quick story. Back several years ago, maybe 2018, 2019, I remember driving around at night in my neighborhood, which is, I live in a highly condensed neighborhood. I remember driving around and wondering what it might be like to go back into some of these dark areas, these areas where there's a lot of shadows and not a lot of light shining in them. I remember thinking, like, what would it be like to go and camp, just kind of to sneak in there and camp. And I remember back in 2020, uh, when COVID came around and everything was shut down, I remember uh, just searching for like secret camping or stealth camping. I didn't know really what to call it, but I remember the first thing that I came across was a YouTube channel called Steve Wallis. Now, anybody that has has camped, anybody that has spent any time on camping channels, I'm sure you know who Steve Wallis is. It was literally the first video that I ever watched on YouTube, and I was fascinated that he was actually doing stealth camping like I imagined to do. Now, over the next few years, Steve Wallis has influenced so many people, very popular YouTube channels who also camp and do stealth camping. One of my other favorite camping channels that I mentioned quite a while ago when I did a video about my favorite YouTube channels is a site called AB Camping. And Tony from AB Camping, who lives in New Zealand, does these long videos, camping videos. And recently he was traveling through Canada. He flew out here and spent some time in Canada driving around and camping, did a couple videos. And one of the things that he did was he went to visit Steve Wallis, who also lives in Canada. But they didn't videotape any of that. So Steve Wallis has been very influential for a lot of people that do stealth camping videos and any type of camping videos today. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because I've continued to follow Steve, and I know he's had some really rough times about, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. I don't remember the time frame, but his wife passed away, and he was obviously very upset about that. His whole community, we're all grieving with him. But eventually he bounced back. Now, he did have this other guy that was on his YouTube channel from time to time, known as Crazy Neighbor. And Glen, was Crazy Neighbor, who's known on the YouTube channel as Crazy Neighbor. They would go out and camp together. They did a lot of stealth camps and different camping videos together, doing all kind of different things related to camping. And recently I heard that Glen, Crazy Neighbor, was ill, and I didn't really know what the extent of his illness was, but apparently he had some type of terminal illness. And the video that I just seen was Steve Wallis letting everybody know that Glen had passed away. So I really feel bad for Steve Wallis. I really liked Glen, Crazy Neighbor, and Steve together. I do feel really bad for Steve Wallis because he suffered, these two losses, his wife and then Crazy Neighbor, Glen, who is his best friend. So I'm sure he's going to be grieving. I'm sure, Steve has got like millions of subscribers on his YouTube channel. Everybody knows him. I'm sure there'll be tons of videos of people talking about Steve Wallis and Crazy Neighbor. But I just wanted to put that out. You can check out Steve Wallis's channel if you haven't watched it before. And I think Crazy Neighbor also has a YouTube channel. I'm not sure. But anyway, I just wanted to mention this because, it was literally the first YouTube channel that I ever followed. Now, since then, there's been a big stream of YouTube camping channels. There's literally tons of them, and I do like to watch some of them from time to time. I do have some favorites, some smaller channels and some bigger channels. So anyway, I just wanted to send my prayers and my thoughts out to Steve Wallis and Glenn's Crazy Neighbors family. It's very difficult when somebody passes. Right now, my wife's father is in the last stage of bone cancer, which is spread to his whole body. He's in and out of consciousness. Probably his last days. He's not eating or drinking. That's a symptom that your body's shutting down. And it's very difficult to see someone like that. I visited and spent some time with him, but it's very difficult. My wife's also going through, the grieving process already, even though he hasn't passed. But this is part of life, and one thing that we can take from this is, instead of worrying about our own death, is to try not to fear it. Understand that it's a natural part of the process of life, and to just let it be a reminder to live our lives more fully, more vibrantly. I know Steve Wallis has talked about this at times, that he really wants to, take charge of life and get the most that he can out of life. And I think that should be all of our goals, especially for those of us who are a little bit older, that might be, in our 50s or 60s, moving towards, retirement, or, years like that, even though we might not be retiring. But, we know that for a lot of us, time is starting to wind down, and it's really not a time to start worrying more. It's more of a time that we want to really live while we have good health and, our faculties, and we can still communicate with people and we can love people. So anyway, hopefully we can learn some lessons from these people when they pass. Crazy Neighbor was a very vibrant person, always smiling, always doing silly things on camera. So my condolences to his family, his friends, and to Steve Wallis. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Many blessings. Have a good day, and enjoy your life. Bye-bye.